could. First up, we're looking for additions or deletions to the agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add? Okay, I've got a couple things here. Lori has asked for a minute to speak to address the commission because she needs to catch a bus, so we'd like to add her under item B, communications. She would be item number 2. And then we have item I, agreements. We have an additional agenda item about the conditional rezoning agreement. We have under J, reports. We'd like to add 3 and 4, which would be the personnel committee for 3, and the 4 would be the city manager search committee. And those will both be verbal reports added to our agenda this evening. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add or change? Okay, hearing none, we entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Support.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. The motion is passed. We have an agenda. Thank you very much. Roll call. Are we completed? Yes, sir. It is done. Correct. Okay, if everybody would please rise and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item on our agenda would be the approval of the minutes of the October 12th, 2021 regular session. And Sarah has informed me that she does have one correction that she's presented for us. Under appointments, we would like it to read, we had a motion by Vice Mayor Harrington, seconded by Commissioner Pitts, to approve the resolution to appoint Andrew Baer, Jessica Gilkins, and Sonia Gibson as members at large to the Alma Planning Commission. And that motion was ratified. So we forgot the motion part of it.
Oh.
So is there anything else that anyone would like to add or subtract from those minutes? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say yes.
Yes.
Oh, we didn't get a motion, I'm sorry. My apologies, thank you, Sarah. Okay, we do have a motion of support now, would anybody like to
There we
comment? Additional corrections or comments? Okay, so all those in favor of approving the amended agenda, or the amended minutes as presented, would say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now, moving down to communications. First up is communication from members of the public regarding the conditional rezoning proposal for the Warwick Living Center. And I believe we received those in an email from the clerk. Your pleasure to receive those or not, I guess?
Support.
We have a motion to support. Are there any comments or questions regarding that communication? Hearing none, those in favor of receipt would say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would say no. That motion is passed. Moving down to item 2, Lori, are you still here?
Yeah.
Would you like to come to the podium, please, and share your communications with us?
My name is Lori. I live at 1009 South St. John's Road, Ithaca, Michigan. I heard what happened a week ago Monday, and there's a lot of things that I kind of went through my mind of what happened, and I would like to take a moment to read. If I don't cry. Who may concern Alma Police Department and Alma City Hall. I want to thank everyone that helped and was involved for protecting all the workers from the City Hall and Police Department, employees, and the public safety people. I give thanks to everyone that helped make this possible to keep everyone safe from the awful person. I say awful person. If this person wasn't not in custody, the situation would have got worse. But it didn't. Everyone is safe back to work. Thank you, all involved, from my heart. I can't see my brothers and sisters. her at all. They were here for me, now I'm here for all of you, no matter what. I can't forgive this person for what happened, but maybe someday, years to come, I will try to forgive that person. You all are my family. Family stays together as one. To everyone involved that day, everyone went above and beyond the call of duty to do their job. Great job, everyone. Well done, job done. Congratulations on a great job to have City Hall and Police Department's employees. And congratulations to all the surrounding police departments and agencies that was involved in helping out to save a lot of lives. Great job, everyone, for a well job done from the bottom of my golden heart. Congratulations, everybody. From Lord Eric Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
We certainly appreciate your sentiments. And share them, no doubt about that, so. Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion to receive her communications.
So moved.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor would say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. The communications received, and again, thank you, Lori, we appreciate
You're very welcome.
your thoughts and your support. Okay, moving down to hearings. First, we need to hold a public hearing at 6 o'clock or as soon thereafter as the agenda allows to consider a question Avalon Tahoe Manufacturing Incorporated for a PA 198 Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption Certificate. It is past 6 o'clock, so we can hold our hearing. We'll entertain a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
My motion support. Comments or questions before we do that? All those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed would be no. Our hearing is open. And who's taking the lead on this one? All right, Casey. I thought we were gonna have to listen to Jim. We've got an upgrade, don't we?
All right, well, it's nice to see you all in person after a long few months. So my name is Casey Zahner from Greater Gratiot Development, and today we have brought before you a request for an industrial facilities exemption application on behalf of Avalon and Tahoe Manufacturing. Avalon has been a great industrial citizen in the city of Alma. They are the largest private employer in Alma and Gratiot County with 460 full-time equivalent positions right now. Their most recent expansion prior to this one occurred in 2020. So this expansion began in June of this year and will include an increase of almost 31,000 square feet of increased production space. And after this expansion, the facility will total approximately 308,000 square feet. The project is expected to be complete by the end of the year, and it will retain the current 460 full-time jobs at the facility and create 10 new positions. The IFE is being requested for $1,272,000 in real property costs. The project also includes an investment of approximately $65,000 in equipment costs, though this is not included in the application due to changes in the personal property tax legislation. Should you approve this application, it will move on to the State Tax Commission for final approval. We have a representative from the company here to discuss the project in more detail if you have any questions.
Okay, does anybody have questions for Casey or Frank, I guess? Or Jim, for that matter?
I can make a few general statements. We are doubling the size of our.
Frank, she
shipping-
wants you up there so she can see it, please.
I'm not comfortable.
You're safe.
All right,
Your
good.
15 minutes of fame here.
We're adding on, doubling the size of our shipping facility, adding more bridge cranes to load trucks. We're kind of in an enviable situation. This is the first time since I've been associated with Avalon, which has been 17 years, that when the dealers came in for the boat show, we just didn't take all their orders. Normally, they would come in and say, I want to take 10 boats, I want 50 boats for this coming year. Here they are, then we build them. This year, we told them how many they were because capacity-wise, we have constraints, and it goes beyond the COVID situation. But key part of that is to double our shipping capacity. Right now, we have trouble shipping as many as we can build. Hence, the 10 people it's kind of a minimum, I'll call it, because the 10 people are gonna work in that truckload building to load boats and get them out to the customers. If we can start flowing boats faster, but then the requirements in the plant itself start to go up. It's unknown at this point, and that's why I only listed as 10. But the building is going to look like it does today, basically, because we're just doubling it. And as you probably have seen, the soccer field area has been transformed into I think, a rather nice appearing area that used to have a lot of scrub trees and unlevel ground. We're doing our best to get that shaped up as well. Other questions?
How many boats a day now?
Jim?
I would ideally 25. Parts, labor.
Yeah.
Same thing everybody else spends.
It's amazing.
And actually, with the building, I was discussing before the meeting, I called on the roll-up doors. We have 11 roll-up doors. And the supplier said he didn't have them yet. And we're at the point where we could put them in. And my comment to him was, what happened? Well, you know it's got 16-week lead time. I said, well, that's fine, I ordered them on the end of March. So here we sit, but everybody's having delivery issues, raw materials certainly are a constraint, and now some of our building materials are in trouble as well.
Can I add one thing on future growth?
Absolutely.
I've talked to the athletic director, each year we have the same conversation. The soccer field, eventually, if things go well, we will move into that soccer field, so we do need to be looking for another facility for the kids. Jim Wolf doesn't want to be the bad guy saying, hey, get out, you need this right now, but this conversation has been going on, and part of that was to make sure they understood that eventually we'll need it, and that it doesn't come out that Avalon keep the kids off the field overnight. So I'm letting you know that hopefully that doesn't happen. But I would foresee, and Frank probably agree, that we will need that
I would agree.
sooner, I would think.
By next season.
It's too hard to predict. I don't think so. We don't have plans for it by next year.
I think the neighbors would prefer that the soccer parents' cars aren't parked in their grass.
There's a trade-off there.
Yeah.
But most are quiet.
But yeah, no, I'm not complaining about I'm complaining about the cars for the soccer, so if we could find that by next season, I think that would be good for you as a business, and then the neighbors would prefer that.
Everyone here knows how we build, so
Yeah,
it
no,
seems
that's
to be
good.
perpetual.
And
Any other
We
questions?
appreciate that.
I mean, it's just clarification. That middle school, that old middle school soccer field, that's not, I mean, the high school plays somewhere else, all of that. We're just talking about,
Like the pale.
Scrubs,
Yeah.
pal.
okay, yeah,
The old field,
right.
which, they know that. And then between the school and us, we've got land. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
where we need to put them.
Absolutely.
Where to find a spot for them, so.
Yeah.
I guess is that PAL? Does anybody know? Is that a PAL that use it?
Strikers?
So that is, so maybe we could reach out to that group and help them.
Yeah, I don't think
find a
that's gonna
spot
be an issue.
someplace. Yeah, there's all kinds of different possibilities I can think of, so.
Yep.
We will do our best not to make you the bad guys.
Yeah, right.
Even though, it was the school that sold the land out from under them, not the city.
We like to see trophies. It's nice to see the
Well, I think some of those new employees are gonna have kids that play soccer too, and so they should be singing your praises.
Well, and I'm sure the kids appreciate, I've seen your boats hosting our homecoming parades. Some very impressive,
Our folks enjoy supporting that. too.
yeah,
They really do.
it's very
Appreciate
nice to
that.
see, and, it's impressive rolling down the street, those boats, so. I'm sure the kids appreciate that as well, so.
Any other questions?
Oh, I just heard you believe you said the last expansion was 2020, Seems like you guys were sleeping for a while there.
That was a whole year ago.
But congratulations and continued success. We appreciate everything you do for the community and the jobs you're providing. Okay, yeah, public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission or the hearing
Relative to this.
relative to this topic? Yes. Anybody from the public want to speak? Hey, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to close our hearing.
So, support.
We have a motion and support. Any comments or questions? Last chance. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. The hearing is closed. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, request for purchase. We have consideration of request for purchase in the amount of $222,561.15 to Kincaid Building Group for project oversight and construction of the State Street Water Main Replacement Project. Your pleasure.
Support.
A motion support. Staff want to give any background? I'm looking at Dave.
Yeah, this is the project, remember we talked about it now a couple times. This is for that replacement of the water main between Center and Superior Street, to replace a little over half of that existing 4-inch line. And we went to the county, and I went last Tuesday, and they were fortunate enough to receive funding for this project through them. So, but the contract needs to be between the contractor and the city before we would approve to move this project. And then the county will reimburse us.
Okay. Thank you. Comments or questions? So thank you to the county, thank you Chuck, we appreciate that, please pass that on to everyone in the
Pass
county.
unanimously.
We do appreciate that, and it would be a great thing for the community, so. We had a motion, right?
Yes.
Okay. So all those in favor would be yes,
Yes.
any opposed would be no, and we have passed that, so. I purchased it, I guess it is. Moving now to resolutions. First up is consideration of a resolution authorizing PA 198 Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption Certificate for Avalon and Tahoe Manufacturing Incorporated that we just heard about, so.
Support.
We have a motion support. Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none. Those in favor will be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no, and that has passed. Thank you very much. Moving on to ordinances, consideration of a resolution to adopt ordinance number 822 to amend the zoning map of the city of Alma as it appears in section 32-32 of the ordinances of the city of Alma. This ordinance is to rezone the property at 842 Warwick Drive from R3 multifamily residential district to a CI campus institutional district, which will be subject to the conditions set forth in the conditional rezoning agreement. Your pleasure.
Point of order first. Since this was tabled, do we need a motion to take this off the table?
I believe you do.
Okay, I will do that.
So the motion would be to take it off
The table, yes, yes.
Thank you. Motion support, comments or questions? We've talked this one to death. All those in favor will be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, it is passed.
That was to take it off the table.
Sorry.
Yes,
Sorry.
okay. Sorry.
Okay.
So
that
I would
passed.
take it to a yes then.
Okay.
Take it off the
So it
table.
has passed.
Okay.
So now we'd entertain a motion to adopt the agreement, or the resolution.
Move to adopt the agreement and resolution.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion support now. Comments or questions on this? Hearing none. Those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no.
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 Okay, I believe I counted 4 to 2. And the motion is passed. Moving to I, agreements. We have consideration of a resolution authorizing the execution of a conditional rezoning agreement between the city of Alma and the Michigan Masonic.
That's what we just.
As we just did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's the agreement.
Oh,
Oh,
this
I'm
is the
sorry.
agreement. I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, that's the, okay, that's the next,
Oh, that's
one.
fine.
That's page
I
2.
apologize.
That's page
My
2,
fault.
okay.
I started, thought I was
I'm
doing the same
sorry.
thing twice too, so I'm giving you some. So consideration of a resolution authorizing the execution of a conditional rezoning agreement between the city of Alma and Michigan Masonic. Is it Masonic Home supposed to be? Is that the actual entity? It doesn't say home.
Sorry, my bad.
So the property owner, Michigan Masonic Home, which conditionally rezones the property located at 842 Warwick Drive from R3 multifamily residential district to a CI, or C1,
CI, Campus Institutional.
Campus Institutional District. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Motion of support, comments and questions? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, we again have 4 to 2. The motion is passed. Thank you very much. Moving on to reports, commissioners may receive the following reports by one resolution, or commissioner may remove any item within this section for individual discussion and vote. We have the 2 written reports, one and 2, which are the transit board and the interim city manager October report. And then we added 2 verbal reports. One was the personnel committee, and the other was the city manager interim search committee. So it's gonna be hard to receive the 2 verbal reports without hearing them. So I presume we'll pull those. And then, is there anyone here who will pull the other 2 reports, or either of the other 2 reports?
I'd like to say a couple things with my report.
Okay. So we'll pull the city manager report and 2 verbal reports. That was the transit board report, so, all those, or I guess we'll entertain a motion to receive that report at this point.
So moved.
Support.
Got motion support, any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes?
Yes?
Any opposed say no. We have received that report. So next up is the city manager, or the interim city manager report. Eric?
Yeah, I just wanted to hit on a couple things in the newsletter. One is the active shooter incident that we had a week ago Monday. Thanks, Lord, for those comments. That's, we definitely, that's how we feel. We're very lucky.
I felt the same way.
Just wanted to acknowledge a few things that happened on Monday the 18th. Obviously, it took place on the east side of the building here. We had 2 officers that were engaged in that event. Officer Logan Bussell and Detective Jeff Hedrick. They were actively involved in the incident, and how they reacted probably saved a lot of lives. And then the suspect left our area, headed down through downtown, firing his weapon through downtown. We're very fortunate that anyone was hit. As far as we can tell right now, there's no building damage, no car damages. In the apprehension of the suspect, Officer Casey Mueller and Officer Robert March were on scene with that. Obviously, after that, the individual was apprehended, we had a mile-long crime scene, and state police were here doing their job. And so basically every other officer that we have was on duty at that point to come in and work that scene with everyone. Those officers included Sergeant Jacob Gielich, Sergeant Chris Jury, Officer Alex Hawkins, Officer Benjamin Jerkovich, Ben. Officer Kyle Mapes, Officer Tyler Pensky, Officer Daniel Patsky. I'm saying that wrong.
No idea.
Prisby?
Prisby,
I think.
Thank you. And then we'd like to thank all the supporting departments that day. St. Louis, the county, Great Lakes Central Railroad, and of course the state of Michigan that did the report for us. Also, from a personal standpoint, I was not here for the event. I was actually on the runway coming back home when I got the text that the building was being fired upon. So from me as the interim here at the moment, I'd like to thank 3 people that took over what normally I would be here doing, and obviously they'd be doing work anyway if I was here. But I'd like to thank Public Service Director Mark Williams, Police Chief Penrose, and then Public Service Director Dave Gringle for their work that day to administer all of it and keep it all together. And then of course all my staff that was here on site, and then all the folks who were out in the other departments that stayed on duty doing their jobs. I think, like I said in the newsletter, I can't be more appreciative than I am right now with how everybody came together for that day, and then all the support that we got. I really do appreciate it. From me, what I I've been trying to do since that happened from just my side of things, is to make sure that all our employees and stuff are taken care of. And I believe we're doing just best we can with that. We do have offered, we do have employee counseling services available for those, and then we did have some debriefings, they call them, with both our police and our staff. So I do appreciate the individuals that are on the critical incident team for Gratiot County that came in to work for us for 3 weeks to help us out. So, really emotional for all of us, and I know the commission too. This hits you also, and we just want to thank you for your support during this time too, to offer services and things that we do to take care of people moving forward. Then lastly, I just want to, as we take some time to reflect on this, obviously I know the commission wants to, and others in the community would like to show our appreciation for the folks that, and the work they did. So maybe I'll get together and talk about how we go about doing that. So, but I like to open up anything you'd like to say as commissioners too. I just wanted to talk about that, and if you'd like to, don't want to monopolize that, but maybe want to do the commissioner comments, but I want to make those comments of my appreciation. We've talked about the North Street water main. I want to brief you on the east-west alley connection, which is to the south of the former Shiloh building. Obviously, it's under new ownership now, and we were hoping to keep that connector there and not have to lose that and then put a new one in. Well, the new owners have decided to put the fence up, and that's on their property, that connector. That fence is up now. So to get services down there from a standpoint of yard waste, snow plowing, and then emergency service vehicles, we're going to have to put a new connector back in there. Now, we've been trying, we didn't want to put it in there, that's why we held off until this point, because it does, from the aerial that's in, you can see from the aerial that's in your packets, it will be much closer to the properties that border that to the south. We didn't want to have to put this in, but the property owners made a decision to move that fence in. So we will be coming to you in the near future for bids and contractors to put that connector in. But in the meantime, once our crew gets up a little bit, we'll be in there to remove some trees. But we just can't leave it too dead ends. We won't be able to get the services there for that neighborhood.
Just a question, is Aludyne, which is the new name, is that a new company or just a name change for?
It's a new company.
It is a whole new company, a whole new ballgame.
Yes, a whole
Okay.
new ballgame,
Okay.
yes. I was sad to see our plant manager, Joe, leave. He was a great guy to work with, really involved. Yep, he went down to another, in fact, they're one of our plants in Toyota, Indiana, so he went to another plant with the company, but took a different position. So, but yeah, we tried to not have to do this, but it's kind of where we're at right now. So just to let you know that that's coming with some bids too. Our friends were just here from Avalon. We've talked about a planning commission with one of their expansion is a powder coat facility. The powder coat facility most likely going to trigger us to have a industrial pre-treatment plan. And we haven't come to you yet with any request for funding to put that plan together. We will have to hire a consultant to do that. But as soon as Avalon kind of narrows down what they exactly want to do, we'll be back with you folks here to review a couple consultants and to ask for funding to go ahead and hire someone to help us put together that pre-treatment plan. That's the price you pay for advancement in the product lines that they're bringing there. Water distribution, the staff is actively is finalizing our 356 randomly generated residential houses that we will be checking for doing the copper, lead and galvanized steel connections. Obviously, over the next few years, those that we find that are lead or galvanized steel that we can't prove that wasn't ever connected to lead will have to be replaced. And as we talked about before, it isn't just from our main to property line, it will be our main to the home. So, that's coming up. And just also, just what the last thing, it's not so, to come back to you or anything, but just let you know that the Lake Park bathroom is underway.
Good.
And according to their schedule that they provided to us, we should see that building complete by mid-December, and then they're moving on to the other ones over there. Everything has to be done by June 22nd. Pulls out our grant with Michigan DNR by November. So,
Okay.
any questions? I guess? Lots of stuff.
Eric, I just want to thank you also for your leadership this past week. I've heard from a lot of staff that they really appreciate the things that you've done to get them through this, so just being into
Thank you.
3 weeks on the job and
Yeah.
I'm the first city manager to have to go through this, so.
This is what I, at least, I wish I was here. So this is my way, my part of it to do this, so. Thank you, your support too.
You want to receive these reports one at a time, or shall we do, I guess we didn't get a motion for this one, right? So, okay, let's do a motion at the end, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah,
Let's
if
receive
you're gonna-
all three of these verbal
Yeah.
reports at the same time, so.
Yeah.
Next up, I think, Michelle, are you taking the personnel committee, just giving the personnel committee?
Sure, I can.
verbal report?
Back in, I think it was 2019 or early 2020, no, 2018, 2000, I can't remember. We put together a personnel committee that we were appointed, and so today is our first time that we got back together after almost 2 years. 3 out of the 5 are new to this committee. So tonight we just talked about things that we're going to do to change certain things within the HR department and how we're going to move forward with it. So we put some things out there that are going to be looked at, and then we'll come back together and move forward. We just kind of did what we're all looking for meeting and what opinions are going to be for the future.
And just to add to that, if there's anything that any other commissioner thinks that we should address or look into, obviously we'd be more than willing to look into that. I think preliminary, the big thing was looking for, job descriptions and succession plans for each leadership position within the department, within each department head. I think that's kind of where we started to gravitate to, as well as some communication type resolutions we can make with emails and things of that nature. So.
Okay, anybody have any additional comments or questions? I guess one thing comes to mind, and with COVID, I think prior to COVID, we had started or begun to institute I think it was a semi-annual review process, or at least an annual review process, where supervisors would meet and review, give a performance review type situation for their employees. I don't know if that's continued, did that drop over COVID, or
We
those
didn't-
conversations?
I don't think it ever got
we
finished.
didn't hit
Yeah.
it tonight. We
Mhm.
were-
This might be something that we,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good idea to
Mhm.
see if we can pick that back up.
I remember it being talked about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
but I think that's about as far
I
as
think
it
it's a
got.
very
so,
good
yeah.
basic practice, at least a couple times a year for everybody to
Mhm.
have a meeting with their supervisor and just catch up, and make sure everybody's on the same page, pulling in the right direction, so. And those reports do become, it kind of forces you, when you have to put a report together, it forces you to have that meeting and have that conversation, so. All right, thank you. So continued success with your committee, appreciate your work. And Nick, you wanted, I don't know if you wanted to, but you.
But you're going to.
You were appointed, I guess, to
Nominated.
give the.
Music stopped and I didn't have a chair.
There you
So, yeah, the search committee met, we have reviewed, Sherry, how many applications did we get? I don't know either, what it was. But we narrowed it down to 5, what we call semifinals. We have started phone interviews with those. We will complete the phone interviews by next week, and then identify who the finalists would be in touch with them so we can then release the names, get those names to the commission, and start get to you about what that interview process would look like.
So,
We're making progress.
so just a question on that. Are we gonna do it like we did the human resources structure? I've never been where the city commission is hired, like where we did, there was like 6 of us that interviewed, or 6 people interviewed. Is that how you do it for a city manager?
Once,
Well,
I mean-
Once it becomes public, we typically will narrow it down to 3 final candidates. And then once they've agreed for us to release their names publicly as being the finalists, then it's gonna be an interview by the whole board.
Okay.
So
That's-
So
everyone-
all of us on,
Yeah,
okay.
there will be all the.
and that's public too.
Yeah, and that's all public, so they have to, we want them to agree that they're gonna be named
Okay.
as finalists, it's gonna be for everyone to
So
know.
then they.
It'll be open meetings when they become and
Okay,
meet with
so
us.
we would just have like a public
Yeah.
hearing and everybody would come in and
Right.
if they had questions, they could ask.
But
I
there
don't
will
know
probably
about-
be a process.
It's really, it's the city commission interviewing these folks, but it is public, and I would think the public would have the right to make comments, like a public comment or what at the end of it.
Yeah, but not to question the candidate.
No,
No.
But it is a public,
Yes, it's a
open
public
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason that this other stuff isn't is because obviously when people are
Right.
filing these applications, they don't necessarily want their employers, to know and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things going on, so, but the finalists interview, that's a.
Well, the finalists would have, my sense, and the commission can give us some guidance, is there's gonna be more than one set of interviews. So there'll be interviews with department chairs, maybe there's a presentation. There's a number of things we would wanna do so we can gather as much information as possible, and then you can tell me what that has to be public and what. Not that it's secret, but what would just be, again, the managers, or just the general clerk. So my sense is it's a process that's not going to be a one-off type of thing. I think you need as much input as you can have. So, but that's going to take you guys from this. That's the
Thank you.
process.
I'm glad done through that, so I just want to
Well,
make sure I understood it correctly.
I think it's a committee report. And we can do it.
Okay. More questions, comments?
So you would hope by next commission meeting we can list it.
If all goes well, yes. Okay, thank you, Nick, and thank you, everyone. So with that, apparently no further questions, we'll entertain a motion to receive the final 3 reports.
So moved.
Support.
Once again, last opportunity for comments and questions. Hearing none, those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. Motion is passed. Thank you very much. Moving down to appointments, we consider a resolution to ratify the city manager's designee, David Justin, to be a member of the planning commission effective November 1st, 2021. And if you remember going back to the city charter, it gives a seat to the city manager, in this case, the interim city manager, or his designee. So in this case, Eric is choosing to name a citizen as his designee to take his place on that committee. And so Eric will remain an active portion of whatever goes on at the planning commission, but he'll be doing it as a support staff, city manager role rather than a member of the planning commission itself. So, motion?
So moved.
Support.
Motion support. Any additional comments or questions? And I think most of you probably know Mr. Justin. He's a longstanding community member. Been involved in a lot of things, so. All those in favor be yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion's carried. Mr. Justin is appointed, and we thank him along with everyone else that has agreed to serve on our various boards and commissions. We do appreciate the support. Moving down to unfinished business, we'd like to consider a resolution to approve the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. The Gratiot County subrecipient application in the amount of $226,000 and authorize the mayor to sign the application on behalf of the city of Alma. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Motion support. Staff have any comments?
This is Dave mentioned the project on North State Street. This is the funds from the county's American Recovery Act to
pay for that project.
Okay. Anybody have comments or questions? Again, with our gratitude to the county, everyone in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. We're all grateful, thank you. Let's see, move on to consideration of a referral, consider a referral of a draft interim city manager employment contract to the Human Resources Committee, or the Personnel Committee, I think is the new name or the correct name, for further development and recommendation to the commission for the first meeting in November. And this, if anybody was, I think, at our last meeting, we had talked about the fact that we had neglected to have any kind of an agreement with Eric when we appointed him as this interim city manager. And this is to catch up from that neglected item, so. Entertain a motion? A motion of support. Anybody have any comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. The motion is passed. And back to work for the Personnel Committee. Consideration of a request for clarification of resolution number 2021-0153, which was the approval of hazard pay for current fire and police personnel with respect to the payment of employee and employer taxes. So we're looking for clarification here with, let's see, the maker of the motion, I believe, was Michelle, the original motion. I don't know if it matters if she clarifies, are we?
Well, I think the motion and everything was passed. I think the question to the commission is, you know, because it had come up, I think our the finance guy, yeah.
We all heard
The
something
question,
different.
the question was, okay, what about the withholding, right?
Correct.
Right?
Mhm.
And then that was responded to by the commission.
Mhm.
And they said, yeah, I think really, I think it might be important, because as I recall it, there was a number given, wasn't there? Like, it wasn't maybe specific, but it was about so much money it was gonna cost.
Yeah, it's the 139,052, something like that.
Mhm.
So,
And we talked about everybody who's read their packet, their information, we were supplied with 4 different scenarios. One being that we reduce the amount of that total amount, that 139, by the employer portion of taxes, which is, if everybody, to clarify for everybody, in payroll, there's an employer portion, an employee portion of Social Security and Medicare taxes. There's 4 different components of that, 2 for employee, of both of those. And then there's federal withholding for your income tax purposes, as well as state withholding for state income tax purposes. So the different scenarios that Curtis supplied to us was, the first scenario was, and I think that was the initial question for clarification from Curtis, was that should we reduce that $139,000 by the employer portion, that initial 7.65%, I think it is, that the employer typically pays, so that the $139,000 covers everything, and there's no money out of our general fund, no money coming out of it. That grant money is all paying for everything itself, all self-contained. And then the second option presented was for us to cover the employer portion. So we would take the 139,000, divide it up into the 2 different buckets between the police and the fire, and further divide it between the individuals. And that 139,000 would go to them as gross payroll amounts, with the city of Alma covering out of general fund the employer portion of Social Security and Medicaid, but the employees, as typically is done in paycheck, your gross pay is reduced by Social Security, Medicare, federal withholding, and state withholding. So that would be the second scenario. Third scenario would be that, again, you take that gross amount, 139,000, and gross that up enough so that the Social Security and Medicare taxes, both the employer and the employee portion, is covered by the city. So basically add another, in addition to the employer, 7.65%, gross up another 7.65%, so that the employees are not paying or contributing their normal employee portion of Social Security and Medicare taxes. And that would obviously increase the amounts that they all get. and they would continue to pay, or we would continue to withhold both for their federal and state income tax withholding. Okay, so that's our third potential scenario. And then the fourth potential scenario was to gross up that whole amount. And I guess, let's go back to scenario 3, Chris, the gross amount out of our budget then would have been 160,000 roughly, wasn't it?
165.
165,000,
Yeah.
which 139 of it obviously would have been the grant, plus another 30 whatever thousand to cover the taxes that we're grossing things up by. So now, and then the last scenario would be to gross it up enough so that essentially trying or attempting to get, and it's gonna be an approximation, it's not gonna be exact, but it would be attempting to get a net amount to each of the police and fire departments so that their net paychecks, if we added up all their net paychecks, would come to the 139,000. And the city would attempt to cover all of the employer Social Security and Medicare, all the employee Social Security and Medicare, all of the employee federal income tax withholding, and all of the employee state federal income tax withholding. And that number came up to about $220,000, $139 of which would be the grant plus general fund money would have to cover the rest. Now, at that last meeting, my intention was, or my interpretation of what we were voting on was for the city to cover the employer portion of Social Security and Medicare taxes. And I believe I made a statement to that effect immediately preceding the vote. Now, if I'm mistaken, I apologize for that, but that was my interpretation of what happened. And I don't know, and I believe that's also what how Curtis interpreted the results of the meeting, and that is what indeed our payroll program and accounting department, and payroll department did. So I believe that everyone has been paid under that scenario number 2, where the 139,000 was divided amongst the employees, and then just like a regular paycheck, we deducted the employee portion of Social Security, Medicare, federal withholding, state withholding. So that's what they now have in their bank accounts, or they got checks for, but I'm sure for deposits, so that's in their bank accounts, or perhaps even some have spent some of it now. But that was, what, a couple weeks ago or a week ago, that they actually got that money.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So now, if we did that incorrectly, according to this commission, if the will of the commission was to do something different, this is our opportunity to make that change. So, your pleasure, I guess we'll look for a motion to do something different.
My motion was to pay for all taxes, both employee and employer. That was the motion.
Employee and employer, as well as withholding federal and state income tax withholding, or not including federal and state income tax withholding?
Like all, or like the scenario 4.
Okay. So, personally, I have a problem doing that for a number of reasons. One thing is, everybody's income tax rates are different. We don't know what anybody's income tax rates are. You can't tell by looking at the payroll. I may be an individual that chooses to have a great deal of money. I choose to have I claim 0 exemptions on my, what is it, W-4? Okay, so I claim 0 exemptions because I like to have the government, or my employer take a lot of money out of my check, because at year end I use that money to, pay off my Christmas debt. And I know people who do that. That's a very valid way of conducting your business. So I have a lot of money taken out of my check because I like the big income tax refund. Other folks say, I don't want the government using my money. I'm going to claim, 9 exemptions on my thing, and they're not going to take anything out of my check. But at the end of the year, when I do my taxes, I got to write the government check. So if we cover based on what the exemptions are, we face a very real possibility of over-rewarding certain people and under-rewarding others. It's going to be very difficult to make it fair. If we try and determine what anybody's marginal tax rates are, that would involve forcing them to bring their tax returns to us and us doing some kind of calculation to try and approximate what their marginal tax rates are. And again, you have a problem if somebody has outside income from whatever reason, if they have investments in property or spouses that work or whatever, they may have a much higher marginal income tax rate than someone who is a single person You know, lots of dependents and their tax rate is low. So how do you make that fair? I think it's next to impossible to do that. My experience, and I have been fortunate enough to, you know, have several employers that have awarded me various bonuses and, you know, awarded, worked for organizations that have done that. And the gross award is always what's in my paycheck. The Social Security and Medicare are always deducted out, as well as whatever my federal and state withholding are. So that's my history, that's the way I view things. That's why at that last meeting, I presumed that's the way we were going to handle it. That's the most common way that I'm aware of anybody handling situations such as this. That's my take on this.
And I think that's
The
probably.
floor is open to others.
I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but I think I thought I was voting on the number 2 option where, like any normal bonus, or, I mean, I think taxes are normally in situations the employee's responsibility. I mean, isn't that, I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, anymore, I think according to the IRS, if your employer gives you, if we as an employer are were to hand out $100 gift cards
Right.
to our employees for some kind of a bonus, we have to run that through payroll. I mean, they have to be,
Right.
that has to be taxed.
Right.
The IRS takes a very unkind view to people, compensating people and not paying taxes on that. As an employer, we could get in some serious trouble for not paying it. And then
And
nobody's advocating we don't pay taxes and that.
Right.
It's
nobody
also
pays
not unheard
taxes.
of to gross it up so that that's part of the bonus that's
Right.
already taken care of. That's what we do in our place. You know, ours are to be tiny little bonuses, but.
Right. But I also, I mean, I feel like we're setting a precedent that if, I mean, that's paying all of, I mean, I understand maybe grossing it up, what you're saying, which again, this is very unfamiliar to me in any way, shape, or form, but I think paying both the employer and the employee share is setting a precedent. I mean, because I would feel, I mean, say we had money that we were giving other people, I mean, either we are deciding that we are going to, going forward, always do this, which I think is perhaps not a fiscally sound precedent to set, and it sounds like it's gonna take a lot of work to do.
Well, this
I don't know
is
how you figured that
extremely
out.
unique, because
I
mean,
am-
the
yeah, I
chance of having
understand that.
hazard pay
Sure, I
come up
understand
again,
that.
I know let's hope this isn't come up again.
Yeah, that's what was
Right.
unique.
Yeah, but I mean, I do, when you look at scenario 3 versus 4, I mean, I do understand what you're saying about, you know, everybody's planning something different. And,
The marginal
you know,
tax rates are,
yes,
yeah, very,
So that,
very
so
difficult to
number 3
determine.
does make more sense. When I voted, I was voting that we were taking care of taxes. That's
all
how
of
I
them.
understood it, yes, but now I
Both
didn't think.
employee and
I
employer.
didn't think about the exemptions, like I didn't, that wasn't, I didn't think about this, so. I'm losing that.
Well, and I don't-
Just for a quick second, for your clarification. Is-
No.
Yes, finance guy, please help us out.
Okay,
Talk
Mr.
to you.
Mr.
So,
CFO.
I'll look back at him too, because it's based on the payroll system. There are 2 different ways for payroll taxes. Your typical bi-weekly or whatever the normal case, like a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. It's gonna fall, your payroll system will generate the taxes based on your W-4 withholdings.
Mhm.
For bonuses, there's another tax table called the Supplemental Tax Rate. It used to be in, like 2-3 years ago when it got changed. But prior to that, roughly 40%, if you use the supplemental tax table, would be gone in taxes. That'd be 25% to the feds, automatic, 4.25% to the state, you do 7.65 for like the Medicaid. Do the math, it's about 40%. Those typically were for bonuses. And so you can differentiate on the payroll side, and the earning for that, it'd be a bonus earning code, it'd be supplemental tax table. So what you're getting at, you could do the calculation for gross up. It's the same for Audra, for Michelle, for you, for Eric, for Tony, for Roger. Irregardless, it'd be the same. If you default it to, that earning code defaults to your typical tax table, then it goes back to what you're talking about, depends what you're claiming for dependent exemptions.
I don't know if our system is that sophisticated or not.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't answer that. I believe the way we did it, we did not treat it like a bonus, because I'm pretty sure everybody's withholdings was based on their W-4, not based on a flat rate. I don't, and I'm thinking that, I don't know that.
Yeah.
But based on the numbers that I saw, I would have felt that the percentages would have came out basically 100% even, had they been all based on the same rate, they were clearly looking at what the checks were every.
Yeah, if the system would have handled it the way it was just described, all numbers, everybody's numbers should have been the same.
Correct, and it was not that way,
Right.
so I believe it wasn't in fact based on the numbers.
And that's not to say you couldn't pick a number and say, we're gonna gross it up by X dollars to whatever, you can do whatever you want, you can gross it up
But then you're
any
also
direction you
running
want.
into a situation where tax time, if you're in a different tax rate, you're gonna pay
But
on
yeah.
that because you didn't withhold what you normally.
Well, yeah, and whatever we gross up is
Right,
taxable
it would
income
actually
too,
would
so
put them
it's,
in the
yeah.
End of the day, more so doing it that way than with that, I mean, that's, I think
Yeah.
easier, so, but, yeah. it would
And
be-
that's what I would be afraid, I mean, I don't like, I take as much as possible out because I don't have the savings to pay the government my taxes, and I would be more afraid that we're doing more harm than good. I mean, I'm all about giving as much of the grant money to our people as possible, but I just feel like, I mean, it's, paying taxes is part of being here in America, and I'd worry that we're, to pay both employee and employer is, that wasn't what I was voting on, so I don't know what, I mean, I guess what I voted on is what we did, so I don't have a motion to make to change it, so.
Curtis, I got a question, because how's the IRS gonna treat this? If you
They
pay.
don't care how you.
No,
pay it.
I don't know if they do or not, I mean,
No.
Typically, sorry.
no, wait a second, let me finish, let me finish up, because my question is this: if you're talking about paying the both, I'm assuming it is okay to pay the employee's contribution?
Well, you're not
If
We're
you-
not,
wait,
we're
wait.
not actually
gross it up.
paying it, we're paying an amount above and beyond, so they're still gonna have taxes taken out.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If we pay it, doesn't the IRS, aren't they just gonna count it as income? And
Yeah,
those
it's gonna-
folks are still gonna have to make that payment, right?
Yeah, they're just getting more money so that they can
To do it.
essentially cover that payment.
But
yes,
it's
they are
not gonna
still
cover
paying.
that payment, because it's gonna
It is
increase
gonna
their
be more, because
income,
you're getting
and their
more money.
payment's
And
gonna
that's
be
why
higher.
it approximates covering that, it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly, there would be no way to actually get it down to
Okay,
a
all
set,
right,
it
all
would
right,
be
all right.
possible.
You could,
Well, I guess maybe it'd be possible.
yeah.
I'm
But
not
it
sure.
approximates covering that payment, it doesn't.
Right.
It's-
Okay,
Correct, yeah, it's not, you're not actually paying the payroll taxes, you're just paying them enough so that it would essentially cover what
Got
the
it.
payroll taxes would have been based on the original amount.
perfect.
So you're trying to get them net pay that would approximate
Okay.
the division of the 139.
There's a good reason I'm not a tax
Well,
attorney.
it's complicated.
All right, I'm sorry.
I don't wanna admit how much time I put into trying to figure that number out, because it was substantial.
And it's
That makes
really a
sense.
fairly easy formula to figure out, it's not hard to gross it up and get to an approximate number.
Right, and if you're doing an approximate like the 25%, like I said, I was trying to do it based on everyone's.
Yeah.
Because that's how we did it, and that's why it was.
But doesn't the more, and again, I don't know any of this, but the more you bring it up, doesn't the more taxes come out? I mean, it's.
Yeah, and that's why it only approximates.
That's why they're saying,
You
they're
don't
just
get
trying to
down
get
to
you
the
as close
exact-
as they
Right,
can.
but still, I think then at the end, then it, could bump you into another, I mean,
Yeah.
it can be complicated. It's
Yes.
Well,
complicated.
that's why I said-
theoretically, the next dollar could bump you into the
Into
next
the next
tax
tax
bracket,
bracket,
and,
right,
you
right.
know,
That's why I
there's
said
nothing
it
you can
would
do
actually,
about
could
that.
have an
Right.
effect down the road, an
Right.
unintended effect down the
Right.
road.
An
Because we're only
unintended
looking at it for
negative
this,
effect.
yeah, because we're only looking at it for this particular paycheck. But it could, yeah, very well, depending on how, what your withholdings are set up and stuff, yeah,
Right.
it could very much affect you from tax.
But you also have to
wouldn't know
understand
that.
how tax tables work. If you get bumped into the next tax bracket, the bracket
Far
only,
from
the bracket only covers, or the increased rate, if you go from a 38 to a 39% rate, that rate only covers the marginal increase above that amount. You know, if you're at $1,000 is the 38% rate, $1,010, well, only $10 is taxed at 39%.
Sure,
That first
okay.
dollar is still taxed at the lower rates.
Okay.
I'm trying to think back to my feelings at the time, and I think when we talked about this, what I was trying to prevent, or thought we were preventing, is, okay, here is a $5,000 or $8,000 bonus for the police department. Who go, yeah, that's great, but by the time they finish taking taxes out of it, I only got $5,000, okay? And I think that's what we were trying to prevent. And I think that is the company taxes that would have made that difference. Am I right? Just,
Perhaps.
okay, well, that's what I was trying to, not, we're giving you $8,000. Yeah, but by the time they got finished taking my taxes out of it, I only got 5.
Well, look at it this way, Roger, if it would have been, if we would have taken both employer and employee FICA and, or Social Security and Medicaid, that's 7.65 each, so you're talking 15.3% of whatever amount you're granted.
Okay,
So if we were to pay, gross it up by 15%
okay,
to cover those two pieces, that's, and then
Okay.
basically that leaves the employees covering whatever income tax
Okay.
obligations they have.
And that'd be
Okay.
scenario 3.
And that was scenario.
okay, see, I guess I was thinking that would be
Which is-
scenario 2.
To me,
But
more
it would be
generous-
scenario 3. What I want to do to make up that amount would be scenario 3, right, or even 4. Medicare and all.
So scenario 3 would mean that they get their entire intended 100, maybe 200, and then they would get their federal and state withholdings taken out. Their payroll taxes would be covered before that amount.
Okay,
Number 2, the scenario that we did, the employer portion was taken out, but the employee portion was not.
Right.
Just the employer. Scenario 4 would be employee, employer, payroll, plus federal and state withholdings. That's
Okay.
the one that's the scenario for and that's why that one is the large one, because that's the.
260,
much larger.
yeah.
'Cause that's actually affecting your actual income tax. And I apologize, I asked that.
No, I mean, the question
No,
needed to be
yeah.
answered, and we need to agree
Yeah.
on what
Yeah.
our intentions are.
Anyway, the police came to us with the fact that we did the full amount that they thought we were getting, so.
So I am, I've said my piece, I guess my reasonable compromise would be that we cover both employee and employer portions of payroll taxes, which would be the 15.3%.
Okay,
Payroll taxes, let the employees pay their own income tax withholding, federal and state. I think that's a reasonable compromise. To me, that's a better deal than most bonuses that I have ever experienced. I've always been responsible for my own employee FICA or Social Security and Medicare taxes. But what is your pleasure? And in fact, I guess, do we have a motion? Did Michelle, you actually make a motion, or are we?
No, I don't think anybody's made a
We didn't
motion.
have a
Michelle was
motion.
explaining
No.
hers, I
Yeah.
think.
No, I think it was hazardous pay, and I still stick with what I said. I understand everybody else is saying, but I stick to number 4, so I don't know if my motion needs to come off the table, or, but I stand for where I was.
But the number 4 was the extra 90,000
Yeah.
out of our,
Well, we've already done what we've already done. So basically, I think we need to treat this as if we did what we originally agreed to do. And I guess I don't know, Mr. Attorney, if that's appropriate or not, but.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I almost
And at this
think,
point, it would be a new motion to
Yeah,
change if we want to do something different.
I think so, yeah.
Because we can't undo, I guess we could pull back the payroll, but.
Please don't say that.
No, please
That
don't
would be a
do
pleasant
that, please
experience
don't
for
do that.
anyone. And I don't think we want to go that route.
I think the problem though is we didn't do what we said we were gonna do, because the person that made the motion is Michelle. And she had a different intent than what Curtis went through with.
Right.
So we didn't do what we
Well-
said we were gonna do.
In my mind, if you go back and look at that tape, I did make that clarifying statement just before the vote that we were covering the employer portion of payroll taxes.
and that's what I thought I was
I-
voting on.
Curtis, I thought that you gave an estimation of what that additional was gonna cost. And that additional, that would dictate
That
what,
was based on the number I gave, or that night, or the number that was, if we did the employer only.
that was the only figure that came out.
That was the only, kind of.
Well, there was a number of figures tossed
It
around,
was
and there
really-
was
yeah, it was
percentages
really-
tossed in there too, based on the relationship between the
There
police
really
and
was
fire.
not an actual, the motion really wasn't clear, in my opinion, going back to watch the video, it wasn't really clear what the actual number was that we were, that's why maybe it was my mistake for just trying to interpret it the best I could without getting clarification first, and I apologize for that, but there really wasn't, even when I watched the video a dozen times, trying to figure out exactly what the intentions were, and it really wasn't, a number was really never, I think Michelle said her number, the 139,052 or whatever, but it wasn't really clear that number was gross of employee, employer, it really wasn't, in my opinion, I couldn't definitively say this is what the intention was.
Okay,
Maybe that's
so,
something that somebody else.
Michelle, you made the motion, you expressed an opinion. Are you making a motion that we make another payroll distribution
I
in order to,
I don't know what
to
the steps are.
approximate,
I'm in an area that I've never been in.
in order to
so-
approximate providing the net amount of 139,000, the amount of the grant, the net amount, to approximate providing the net amount to be distributed between the police and fire departments per the formula of, I think it was 18 and 20, 82%, whatever the formula was.
Can I ask a question first?
Of course you can.
Todd brought up, the way we should have done it in the first place. Is it too late to, I mean, I know the checks have already been direct deposited, but is it,
It is not too late to do anything, because presumably anything we're doing now is gonna be a gross up.
Additional.
So presumably,
What you do is that.
whatever we're grossing up will be above.
Code, set it up, be based on the bonus, supplemental tax rate, look at what it should have been compared to what you actually already done, whatever the difference is, that's gonna be enough for the
Mhm.
correction.
So it can be done. Now, if someone got paid more, we might have an issue, but it's probably unlikely at this point, but I don't know that for a fact without going through the math. It's,
Because even if their federal was more, it would be offset by the employee portion that we deducted that we didn't pay. So there would be no way that they could possibly have to pay that. But I also.
I'm not willing to make those judgments without doing the math
Yeah,
myself. but
yeah, I was
okay.
gonna say, based on, yeah, I shouldn't, yeah. I would be.
But it's
very
highly, I would say it's highly
Yeah, very
unlikely
surprised
that
that
that would
would be
occur.
possible.
That almost everyone would get another amount of some sort, although they would, once again, not be even. At the end of the day, they would all wind up exactly the same. Their net pay, the amount deposited in their
Gross,
bank
it's the
account,
same net.
the net would be the same.
And actually, I didn't put the minutes, Bernie, consider, do you have the approved minutes from, did we actually specify gross or net when we, on the, I don't know.
we did
We did
not
not.
include that information in
On the
the
motion.
The motion was to authorize and approve the hazard pay total of $139,052.14 non-state gross.
Okay, so we did actually, the motion was approved, was gross.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is technically, so, yeah, so what we did was the gross pay, for, just for legal.
We distributed the gross
Yes,
pay.
we did distribute the
in-
gross pay,
in
now if that
fact-
wasn't the intention, obviously, that's
Let me,
different, but-
this is insane.
Let's
No, it
muddy
really
the
is,
waters.
it's
Who's
unbelievable.
on first?
You know, this is like, yeah, this is a law school question or something. So let's look at it like this. Clearly, that's what was voted on. There was and Michelle, I understand now what you meant.
I meant like the bonus.
No,
like
I
where
get it.
We all get the bonus and it's all, we don't
I
go
get
into
it.
the.
But the motion that was passed had a specific figure on it, and it was gross, and that's what was done. So in my mind, this is just, and I'm not looking at Robert's rules or anything, I'm just, but my thought would be this: if you wanna do something more than what happened, then I think the motion was passed, the way it was stated in the minutes, it was a certain amount of money, gross, that's what was voted on, irrespective of what you meant. So I think if you wanna change that, there should be another motion.
Yes.
There should be a motion today that says, I'd like to, increase this, and by whatever scenario you guys are thinking, whether you wanna just pay, you wanna pay the employee withholding and, the employee FICA retirement, whatever, or the last one, whatever you wanna do. If you leave it the way it is, I think, if you're in agreement with what happened, you leave it like it was. Otherwise, I think you make a new motion and ratchet it up however you wanna ratchet it up.
And
That's my attempt to try to make some sense of
I
it.
would agree, and I would further say that, if we make a motion, whatever other scenario we wanna go to, whether it's, I think, we did scenario number 2,
Mhm.
that was presented to us. If we wanted to go to 3 or 4, I guess that's probably the way to do the motion, because we do have some math behind that in writing before us.
So, Michelle,
we know what those are. If we wanna do that, I would suggest we ask Curtis to do the math, to recalculate where everybody's position is going to be based on either 3 or 4. Get that list to the police department and the fire squad, make sure they're in total agreement before we take any action, generate any more ACH files and pay anybody. Get everybody on the same page, we'll vote on it for sure to confirm at our next meeting, and again, if we're gonna change it, just so we're not going through this another time.
Well, and I think, Michelle, you could certainly make another motion that would, clarify your initial intent.
If
know
you
what I
wanna
mean?
move to scenario 4, you can.
Yeah,
make a
you
motion
could
to
make
move
that motion, and that would take care
But
of
it
it.
would be like we're going back to it, if we do it like, Todd had, when his experience is like it's all the same.
Well,
like,
yeah,
the
and
bonus and
Curtis can
whatever.
work out the math
Yeah,
on
that could be part
So
of it.
that's
too.
what, when I'm saying that we pay for everything, I wasn't looking at it was all the bonuses, all the same. It's not depending on how many, what they claim.
Is what Todd's saying though, either 3 or 4? I don't feel like that.
I think Todd,
Todd's
Todd
saying
is
a
just
way
telling
to
us how
do
to
that.
handle it however
No,
we
it's
do it.
not, you can do that under any of those scenarios. You could pay a bonus as a separate payroll, and you give everybody the same withholding allowances with
If I really
deductions
were
or
to be
tax
the IRS
rates.
rate, what should happen, any kind of pay, if it's a bonus, you got 2 different options. You got supplemental tax rate, which should be used if it's a bonus, unless it's with a normal biweekly payroll. Because then you have more withholdings coming out to accommodate, to take care of it. But this is a separate payroll, and outside of payroll, should have been set up under the supplemental tax payroll. withholding amount.
But I also know we're not allowed to call it a bonus, because there's a scheme for government. there's a
No,
scheme
we're not allowed to give
bonuses
bonuses.
and things, and I don't know if
And
the
that's
rules.
okay, I mean, when,
Right, I'm just
when you
saying
look at
that
the
I'm
earnings
sure.
code.
But you
Your-
work for the
your
city
earnings
and you
code.
know what Todd does what he does at his business, but you work for the city, and you're working with our hazard pay, so it'd be
And that's what
what
I'm
you,
saying, I don't know
what
if
you
there's
find
different-
out.
Yes, I just didn't know if there
Right.
was, before I committed anything, I didn't know if there was different rules between bonus and hazard pay when we pick up, because I do know that we specifically can't call it bonus or.
But we
So-
did distribute to our people the entire grant amount. I mean, they may have taxes
Right.
that are the course of
Their
rules
gross,
and
their gross
regulations.
pay,
We didn't pocket into the city coffers a portion of the grant. It went in taxes. We did, the entire grant amount that was awarded was distributed
to the
to our
departments, yes.
people. I just wanted
Right,
to.
139,000
yes.
was gross pay to the employees, and the city on top of that will be paying, if we haven't already, we will pay the additional 7.65% of employer Medicare and Social Security taxes. And so there is already out of pocket, out of the city's general fund,
$10,000.
so.
She wants to do
Did you
it.
get an online finance class?
Here, I'm looking at the numbers here. In scenario number 1, which is what they gave us, the total expense is $139,000. That's all their money. That's no City of Alma money, right, okay. So that costs us nothing. Scenario number 2, the total liability was $149,000. That cost us $10,000 out of the city,
And that's
okay?
what we did.
And that's what we did. The next one, scenario number 3, is $165,000, so that's another 15. So that's $25,000 out of the city's part, or out of the city's coffers. And scenario number 4, that goes up to $216,000, which is $66,000 out of the city's funds. Why is there such a big difference between?
Well, that's
Three and
based,
four.
that's based on the income
Everything.
tax rates that are in
Okay.
the payroll system now.
Okay,
So that amount would be presumably different if we just awarded them a consistent amount to each employee to cover income
Okay.
taxes.
okay, which would not
So that
necessarily,
would change it. It
that-
could go up or down.
Yeah,
Presumably it would go down.
okay. That just seems to me like a lot to have, I mean, we're going from nothing to 10,000
Income
to
taxes are a
25,
lot.
yeah. Yes, they are.
And especially, when you get a higher amount, I mean, most people's payroll probably isn't $10,000, $12,000. What is it, $12,000? I mean, that's a fairly
Mhm.
substantial payroll.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, because my head's gonna explode, I don't know. Everybody in this audience is gonna have bad dreams today about this. So, here, you had said
When
roughly
were they coming?
15% on top of this would cover, is that scenario 2? Is that what
No, 2 we did, was, we covered
Three.
7%.
We're talking 3.
Would be another 15.
3 would be another
No.
7%, yes,
Another
the city's
7%.
contribution to 15.
And then, so suppose instead of all this, we said, we're gonna add another 15% supplemental. It will cover part of this and help go toward whatever their state and federal. Because I am, this is.
Another
really-
15%,
Wait, you just said 7.
7, we already, we
An
can.
additional
do-
7
we
would
could
be
do
to
the
scenario
7,
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, make it an additional 10%, just to wrap up to just help offset.
Just so you know, I'm gonna ask for Brenda's motion, Brenda makes it.
I can't say this more than this.
And again, I still want Curtis to do the math and present it back to everybody and make sure before we do any further distributions, that everybody's on the same page, because
But
clearly
if
this
you,
is a,
Nick, your
this is a topic we all
scenario,
have
that's,
trouble getting
then
on.
becomes 22%, right? Because we've already done 7, and you're saying add another 15. Are you saying just add another 7 to make it 15? Because
No.
we've already done the 7.
No, what I was thinking of, we have 7. He's talking 15. I know, everybody else is going, me too. So you've got,
I could be
so
around.
all I'm saying is just, I don't care what, just, if you want a straight line, rather than trying to go over some stuff, do we supplement it by whatever that grant was, whatever we originally gave them, supplement it by, I don't care, 10%, which goes, it's above the other 7.5, helps goes against it. Because if we start trying to figure out the holding, all of it oozing on
No,
this.
Yeah.
well, I don't
Yeah.
think we should do that.
No.
Okay, that's fine, I just think.
He's saying 3 plus. He's saying scenario 3
It's a
plus.
value add to 3, it's a 3.5.
The scenario 3 would be another 7.5, right? That would be scenario 3.
7.65 if you want to get,
Yeah.
really accurate about
Right.
it.
Yeah, we paid the 7.65 that is the employer contribution. If in scenario 3, we would pay that 7.6 we've already paid, plus the 7.65 the employees would pay. That's scenario 3. Now, if I'm listening
So
to,
in reality, we're not paying it, we're grossing.
I get
it
that,
out.
yeah, let's get,
So-
okay, all right.
Offsetting.
Yeah.
Whatever. So then, if, what Commissioner Piccolo is saying now is, we've already done the 7, we're gonna do another 7, which is 3, and then we're gonna do another, whatever, another,
2 or 3, I don't.
Whatever.
Whatever it is, give up.
that's what I think his motion is.
Let's-
For, I guess,
we'll figure out what
clarity
that
and,
costs and see what that-
just to get this.
So,
out.
how about if we work with a gross amount? You know, we know we've got 139,000 in the grant
Okay.
given to us.
We've given them 150,000.
So, yeah, we're doing 150, pick a number and say, we're gonna, you know, we wanna distribute $175,000 between this group based on the formula. That's what's gonna happen, that's gonna more than cover FICA or whatever withholding and all that, and if you wanna pick a number?
Oh, jeez.
Somewhere between 165 and 216.
That's one way to do it.
Mr. Math Puzzle, let's see you.
How many math teachers are crying in Alma right now?
And to be clear, we've already paid the 139, so if you're gonna do that, do just, I would think personally, I'd recommend do what additional, because we've already paid it. So
Right.
if you wanna do an additional 30,000 or additional, whatever it is, just say, basically this would be like a second hazard pay as opposed to on top of what we already did, right?
Well,
'Cause we've
Yeah,
already
that's
paid
true,
it.
that's a
I
good
think-
point.
If we're trying to get back to what Todd originally proposed, or what he initially spoke to, was giving everybody the same allocation of funds to cover to help cover any income tax liabilities, whether it be federal or state. So you'd have to do a calculation to get everybody back to the exact same netting amount, I think is what we're really after here. We want everybody to get, net out the exact amount, regardless of their income tax obligations. You know, $1 was withheld from me to cover my income tax obligations, it wasn't withheld from Audra, but we get the same benefit at the end of the day.
I think I understand.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
And again, that's why I wanna see, let's show our work to everyone
Yeah.
before we do anything, and make sure we all are comfortable and, but again, I think we don't have a good motion on the floor that I'm aware of.
I think the motion that was passed was what was done.
Right, that's
Even
done,
though-
but I'm
Even
just
though
saying to
Michelle
supplement
meant
that.
something else, I think that's what was done, because that's what the motion said. It was that there was a number,
Right.
a gross figure attached to that motion, that's what was passed. Question now is, do you add to it, and if you're gonna add to it, I think you do another motion, whatever that motion is. And you do it either today, or you do your calculation, you bring it back to us, and you do it next time, or whatever. But that's how I
Let's-
think this
let's
has to
do
be
that.
handled. And if, Michelle, you want to make another one to get to where you wanted to get the first time, whenever we're going to do this, you make your motion and we vote on it. Or not me, but you guys do.
I can live with that.
I'm not making a motion tonight.
No, no,
I
we'll
mean,
just
I'm not gonna, we're,
send it back to committee.
yeah.
Let's
we're-
get some,
we're
get some
working on
numbers
it.
then,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I do think that's true too. The next motion should be the additional amount we're paying,
right, right.
not the whole thing again, because then we're gonna be back here
And
in
just
November.
to clarify for Curtis, when he's gonna do his little spreadsheet, because he's got some work to do here, the goal is to compensate everyone 100% equally, or as near to that as possible, right? So that
Correct.
the net benefit, regardless of what their personal income tax liability will be, or their obligations are, you know, I may owe $100 on this money because of my tax obligations, and Nick owes 50, but we both only get 75, right? He's gonna win and I'm gonna have to pay more, but that's, what we're getting is the same at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, it does. And
We
just
say
need to
that
pick
today.
All right, well,
We'll see you
yeah.
in 2 weeks, okay?
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, does that make sense to you, Curtis?
I believe so.
Okay.
I need to, I can clarify it.
Yeah,
I think
Excel is
I
wonderful.
think I understand what the intent that you're speaking of, I think I can do.
Because right now, we've paid everybody unequally.
Everybody's paid an equal gross amount, what the intentions were is an equal net amount, is what I,
Correct.
so what I need to.
Although I guess, you know, in retrospect, it doesn't really matter because it's going to pay taxes, so.
Right, yeah, they're still paying they're just
Yeah.
paying taxes later instead of paying taxes
Yeah.
now, but
So,
y-
chasing our tail again.
theoretically, yes, but I can run with you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Curtis.
very much.
Anybody doesn't have a headache now?
And I get to do this all day.
Quit bragging.
So if anyone ever wants to have any fun, you can hang out.
Well, Todd would probably enjoy it. I'm sure you guys can spend a wonderful afternoon together. Okay, having accomplished nothing.
Not true.
Not true.
Where were we? Let's see. Did I
Go to
get that?
appropriations.
Appropriations.
We've done that. Appropriations.
Move to pay the appropriations.
We have a motion.
What portion of them? What portion of it?
Okay, we have a motion, we have support?
Support.
We have support. Are there any comments, questions on the appropriations? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the appropriations would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. We've paid the appropriations. Commissioner comments? Anybody have words left? Audrey, would you like to begin?
I mean, obviously, there's been a lot on all of our minds since last Monday, going through, thinking about it all, and having that the outcome wasn't, terrible. So, it was an awful thing, and it was very traumatic, but it could have been so much worse, and, had a lot of talks with Mark about that, and Kendra, and, so I'm just thankful for all of the police and their quick response. Most of you know Jeff Hedrick is very special to us at Child Advocacy. He is our Children's Advocacy Center detective at our agency. So the fact that we could have lost him that day was pretty emotional for our staff and just difficult to think about and difficult to talk about. So I just appreciate all the leadership, especially with Mark, Kendra, Eric, David, everybody that played a part. I've heard so much feedback from so many staff, on just different pieces of things that were going on in different areas of the building and the library and the fire station, police station, and I just think everybody, was just really amazing and top-notch staff for sure, so, I just wanted to say that, wasn't on here, but we do have a meeting scheduled, Mark and David and Eric and I are gonna meet on Friday, and look at some of the security measures that Mark and I worked on for the Child Advocacy Building. And then also we're gonna run over to St. Louis and look at City Hall and the police station over there, just to start getting some ideas on maybe some things that can be done here. We'll obviously make some kind of report up and keep you informed as we do that. And I think it's just a good start, just to start looking at some safety measures that can be taken, not just at the police station, but here in the library too. So, so just thank you guys for everything that, Eric, I thought about you a lot just because, I'm like, geez, brand new on this job. I mean, I know you've been here forever, but what a way to initiate it, right? So, just glad it was not a different outcome.
Again, just thanks to the police and all our local agencies that came in, and also just, some of you probably don't know, but there was an employee of the city that was out in the parking lot when the shooting was happening, and Officer Hedrick, Detective Hedrick, in the middle of being shot at himself, made sure that that employee, Grace Callen, was safe as he was running out of the building. So that just proves what a amazing officer he is. That he made sure that his, not that he doesn't do all citizens, but in that heat of the moment, in the shooting in the parking lot, he made sure that she was all right and inside the building. So we want to thank him for that. And again, it turned out the best that it could be, and we'll move forward and commending all of them for what they did. That's about it.
We echo sentiments here, and that remains as well.
Roxanne?
A lot more to add, but just appreciation for the safety and our dedicated employees, and we're trained to handle a situation like this and to minimize personal loss. I wanted to thank Corey Irvin and the Alma Fire Department for coming to Loose Road and helping us celebrate Fire Safety Week. There's nothing more a hot commodity in kindergarten and first graders and preschoolers' lives than those red plastic fire hats, and so thank you so very much for that. And thanks to Lynn Moody for donating some craft supplies to our school as well. So that's all.
Thanks, Roxanne. Lenny?
Just to reiterate a little bit of what everyone's kind of said, I think it's a little unique when law enforcement messes up. People tend to hear about it, but when they do exactly what they're supposed to do, and I think they handle the situation perfectly. I mean, God forbid anything ever happens again, but if you were given the instance beforehand and said, this is gonna happen, what's the best case scenario? I think it happened that way. Now, it's tragic and we never want it to happen again, but I think it just shows the type of training and the type of resources and the type of people they are that handle the situation, a terrible situation, as well as they did. And just the example that Michelle gave is just an example of that. They handled it perfectly. And I just want to say thank you to Mark and Kendra and every officer that was involved and everyone that goes through those types of training, as well as the staff that was in the building, right? Because that very easily could have taken a turn and came into this building or a building across the street or something like that. So there's a reason all those things are in place. There's a reason why trainings take place, and it's good to see those. Not that you ever want to see them executed, but it's good to see that they worked as planned and that it went well, and then continuing to learn from this and continue to grow in those areas.
Roger?
I kind of know how Mark and the people around here feel. I was kind of indirectly involved in that. I was in a school bus across the street, waiting to come across Superior Street, and all of this took place in front of me, including a gunshot fired out the window at a police car that was 25 feet away from my bus. So I was, kind of know what it felt like to be scared. Audrey and I were down here the next day just kind of looking at things, and Mark kind of gave us a tour. And the two things that I took away from it, first of all, was that the entire thing took place in 4 minutes. It was over in 4 minutes, start to finish, 4 minutes it was over. The second thing was that this kind of thing can never happen here. But yet, all of the training that these people have gone through for stuff that can't happen here, why should I really pay attention? Obviously, they did. Obviously, they paid attention for something that could never happen here in Alma, Michigan. And God hope it never happens again, but it's that kind of dedication from everybody who works here. And, people putting barricades out, just all that kind of thing just happened. it just happened exactly the way it should have. This could have gone south in so many ways, and it just didn't. And just, thank you, my friend. And on a lighter note, Gratiot County Players has one more weekend of Mamma Mia. If you plan to see it, get tickets tonight. Get online and get tickets. It most likely will be sold out. Nothing is sold out yet, but it most likely will be. So, and it's worth it. It's great. It's great.
Sarah? No, okay. Tony?
You guys remember that great ad that the Marine Corps had years ago when they would say, when other people are running away from stuff, we run toward it. And I love that. And then at the end of it, it would say, which way would you run? And for most of us, we know which way we'd run. It'd probably be the other way. But these officers who reacted the way they reacted, they can now say with complete certainty, I know which way I would run. And man, I'll tell you what, there's no greater bravery in my opinion in it. And we talk about it all the time, how, yeah, it's easy to say, but every time you put that uniform on, you take that risk and you make that commitment to the public. You're saying to the public, if I have to, I'm running that way. And that's what happened. And
It can
thank
happen.
God, for you guys and everybody else. But I'll tell you what, those people on the front lines that actually did put their lives in danger, that's it. It's an amazing thing.
That's it. Eric? Okay. Certainly want to reiterate everybody's thoughts before this, the tragedy. Could have been so much worse, but things could have gone so wrong. Unfortunately, they didn't. The training kicked in. As Roger said, they did pay attention to their training because in 4 minutes, nobody was sitting around thinking about it. Nobody was pulling out a manual saying, what do I do next? It was instinct and training took over, and thank God it happened the way it's supposed to happen. So very grateful for that. Grateful for the play. I had the opportunity to usher last Friday night along with my daughter. It was a great play. We got tickets to go back on Sunday. Looking forward to it. The theater is wonderful. The new seats are amazing. It's nice to be able to sit down and still, have leg room. It's very comfortable seating. Can't say enough good about it. And I understand that there's, I don't know if it's the second weekend too, but there was a play going on at the high school and another one at the college. So all at the same time. We didn't coordinate our play activities in the community very well. They're all happening in the same 2 weekends, I believe.
Yeah.
So there ought to be something for everyone out there in this next weekend. So I encourage everybody to take advantage of that. The arts community in our town is active and thriving in so many ways. And it's great to see, and hopefully everybody's taking advantage of that. That's a much happier story than thinking about the tragedy our staff went through on Monday. Thank you, Audra, for stepping up and volunteering to, I think we started a security plan some time ago when we started talking about remodeling the police department and things, and took a couple of steps, but certainly we never completed it, and thank you for sharing your expertise, and hopefully you'll be able to push us the rest of the way, and we'll get our buildings more secure so our staff is better protected. There's no guarantees in life, there's no guarantees when you go to work here or anyplace else that something can't go horribly wrong, some crazy person can't do something that's crazy, but we can do what we can do. We will take whatever steps we can do to make it reasonably safe for everybody. So thank you for that, and we'll open up the floor to the public. If anybody would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and I believe you have up to 5 minutes to share your thoughts with the commission. Who would like to be first? All at once? I'm not seeing anybody come forward, so with that, we'd entertain a motion to adjourn our committee meeting, our commission meeting tonight.
So moved.
We have motion support, all those in favor would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. Motion is passed.